Hello science fans and welcome to SHE-ensya. Do you ever wonder what's it like to be in the wonderful world of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics? Let's hear from experts, students, and aspiring STEM advocates about what it's like to be passionate about STEM. Join us in today's episode as we talk about the importance of education despite changes in learning conditions such as a global pandemic, and talk to SHEroes who've turned their passion into action. Armed conflicts, forced displacement, climate change-induced disasters, and prolonged crises have disrupted the education of 75 million students globally. And that number is growing at a larger scale because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Education has been hit particularly hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, with 1.53 billion learners out of school and 184 countrywide school closures, impacting 87.6% of the world's total enrolled learners. And dropout rates all over the globe are still expected to rise because of the massive disruption to education access. While other critical needs such as health, water, and sanitation are being responded to, educational needs cannot be forgotten, and these have an equally detrimental impact if left unaddressed. One of the pile-on effects of the COVID-19 pandemic is while closures are still present all over the globe, the disruption in the education system can have long-term implications, especially for the most vulnerable. There is a real risk of regression for students whose basic foundational learning in reading, math, and languages, and so much more, was not strong to begin with. And millions of learners who have already been deprived of their basic right to education, particularly girls, are even made more vulnerable to physical and psychosocial damages because of this pandemic. Without access to education, as shocks are experienced, including loss of life, health impacts, and loss of livelihoods, students are more vulnerable and unprotected. And as household finances become strained and needs rise, out-of-school children are more likely to be exposed to risks like family violence, child labor, forced marriage, trafficking, and exploitation. For the most vulnerable of students, education is life-saving. Not only does it provide safety and protection, more importantly, it instills the hope for a brighter future. So continuing education through alternative learning pathways as soon as possible must also be a top priority right now. We urgently need to support teachers, parents, caregivers, science communicators, and innovators who are positioned in places where they can provide vital education through radio programs, alternative learning schemes, online learning, and so much more. In the short term, this means we must maintain access to learning and ensure students retain knowledge and skills, either through temporary remote, alternative, or distance learning programs. In the medium term, this means catching up and transitioning students who have fallen behind or have taken a break from school to rejoin their level of schooling and competencies. And in the long term, this means there is a need for education systems to be set up with contingency capacities to mitigate and manage risk in the future. But how do these even apply for those studying STEM? Specializing in STEM fields often require extensive exposure in the lab or field in order to be familiar with the different techniques needed to study cells, the environment, and the forces of nature. Doing it at home or virtually will not compensate for the training needed to handle some of the highly sensitive skills needed to work in a laboratory. And as the Philippines seeks to meet its research goals and expand the population of scientists in the country, how focused are our resources in ensuring our STEM students will finish and succeed? What is it like, really, to study STEM during a pandemic? Let's hear from our SHEroes about their motivations for remaining steadfast and continuing to study STEM degrees while being stuck at home during a pandemic?
Hello, science fans. My name is Yokimiko D. Torrejos, and I am a graduate student and an educator.
Hello, science fans. I am Renee Jane Ele, and I am a biology professor.
To get the ball rolling, let's first find out how our SHEroes got interested in the field of STEM.
Way back in high school, I was in a science section where I was exposed to a curriculum with lots of classroom experiments, hands-on investigatory projects such as science fairs and camps, and these added inspiration from my family as they are practicing their careers in science, statistician and nurse. So happy that I qualified in that section as it has instilled in me that science is the foundation field in economy and industries and in all aspects of our society.
Initially, I wanted to become a medical doctor, and so I took a Bachelor's of Science in Biology as my pre-med course. But after graduation, I was able to acquire a scholarship opportunity in South Korea. While studying abroad, my understanding of biology broadened to molecular and genetic engineering. I became fascinated with doing scientific research and performing hands-on experiments such as molecular cloning and protein expression. I guess that's the time I realized that this is the career I want to pursue.
I really find it fascinating how diverse and yet how similar our stories are when it comes to falling in love with the wonderful world of STEM. But given the conditions of the pandemic, I wonder at what stage our SHEroes are in their STEM studies and what specifically are they studying.
I am now finishing my graduate studies, Masters of Science in Biology at De La Salle University. I am currently working on my thesis, which is focused on the development of molecular sensors as an analytical tool for monitoring nutrients in plants. I'm also currently teaching biology subjects at the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila, where I took my bachelor's degree in biology. I guess this is my way of inspiring students so that they will also be encouraged to pursue STEM.
I am now taking my graduate studies, PhD Biology, to step up in my professional development, and I'm supported by assistance schemes from CHED. I am updating and honing more my skills and knowledge in molecular biology and genetics from De La Salle University. I am blessed to be accepted under the supervisory and mentorship of Dr. Menchi A. Lagman as my advisor. She taught me patiently on the knowledge and skills of doing practical molecular studies on crops, specifically coffee, and given me the chance to be immersed in the latest technological equipment and innovations.
We do need more scientists in the Philippines, and I'm glad that our SHEroes are making this possible. But studying for STEM across time and locations has its own set of challenges. So, how did the COVID-19 pandemic make these challenges even more difficult?
When the COVID-19 pandemic started, the world was in shock and turned upside down. Everybody is experiencing consequences of this pandemic anywhere in the world. To my own personal experience, I was reinstated back to my university, and the pandemic led me to the time where I had the difficulty of finishing my dissertation's laboratory data collection because of schools and universities' closure and stringent logistics. That means travel restrictions from my place in Cotabato, Mindanao to DLSU in Manila.
The COVID-19 pandemic completely changes our way of life. Everything now must be done online, and classes are usually fun when you're socializing with other students. But because of this pandemic, we are now limited to online meetings. But I think the most difficult part of studying STEM during this time is that everything must be done at home now. And STEM classes usually require doing experiments in the laboratory. But unfortunately, we are now limited to the theories and video simulations.
Doing anything of value is certainly never easy, but it is worth all the blood, sweat, and tears. So what could be the most fulfilling aspects of studying STEM, even during the COVID-19 pandemic?
The current pandemic gives us the motivation to continue studying STEM. And studying STEM is very important. Imagine Vaccines are usually developed for decades, but because of the urgency and collaborations of our brilliant scientists, we were able to develop an effective vaccine for COVID-19 in just a matter of 1 or 2 years. The current pandemic shows us that our understanding of the viruses is still limited, and we need more scientists to prevent the next pandemic. There are still a lot of unknowns in the nature, and we need more students studying STEM to understand and decode these unknowns.
Despite the challenges brought about by the pandemic, I need to be resilient, self-disciplined, responsible, and caring for others. We need patience to recover the lost time and strive for the betterment of the whole world. Be prayerful still as we continue to use science to combat this pandemic. Studying STEM during the COVID pandemic made me learn to adapt the switch to online teaching and learning modes. I equipped myself to attend webinars on e-teaching and learning to fully cope up with the strategies to share with my students e-learning.
We need more people in STEM. We need more women in STEM. And this global pandemic has certainly showed us how important the sciences are in dealing with our current challenges. So let's hear one more time from our SHEroes about their message to young Filipinas who are interested in going into the wonderful world of STEM.
For students interested in STEM, I believe in the saying that everyone needs science and science needs everyone. Be patient, caring to others, critical thinkers, analytical, and practical as you contribute to the modern way of life. Remember that studying science or STEM always comes with challenges during this time of pandemic. Part of the learning experience is how you deal with them. Think of it as an opportunity to renew your dedication to your studies and your personal goals. Despite the current pandemic, learning never stops and our dreams must continue.
My message to our young Filipinas who are interested to go into the field of STEM is to always be curious because it will take you to a lot of places. Always do things that make you happy and never stop aiming for what you want to achieve. Lastly, give everything you got. Keep fighting. Never give up, but never ever forget to enjoy the journey as you pursue your dreams.
Thank you so much to our SHEroes for sharing with us your time, your experiences, and for helping empower fellow women in the field of STEM. It truly is amazing to get a glimpse of what it's like to study STEM during the time of a global pandemic. And to our viewers, I hope you were able to learn something from our video for today. And if you did, I hope you can give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please don't hesitate to message me, your resident Filipina scientist, in the comments section below. Thank you very much and see you around!